Loraine.
Hello.
Welcome to the Skills Center.
Thank you very
How are you
much
doing
for
today?
having me. I'm very well, thank you.
Awesome.
Lovely weather in Cape Town today. Well, thank you for inviting us. I'm so excited to learn more about the AWS Skills Center. Do you want to take us around and show us a little bit of what's happening here?
Absolutely.
Well, first, before we go,
yes.
Tell us what you do here.
Okay, so I am the site leader for the Skills Center. So that means that I look after the center from a marketing and awareness point of view, as well as for the day-to-day running, setting up classes, looking after the trainers, and then also working with our customers and partners if they have particular audiences that would benefit from attending some of our training. What makes the Skills Center different from the other AWS education programs is that our training is all AWS instructor-led and it's free. So we kick off with what we call as our information series, which is also known as a career series. Covers topics like an introduction to AWS Cloud, how do you build a cloud career, what are the job roles in the cloud, why should you get certified? And then we've just added demystifying generative AI because it's a very hot topic at the moment.
Exactly.
And then our second series is run over 2 days. There's 4 parts to it of 3.5 hours each. And we typically run those back to back. So let's say as an example, in week 1, we have our info series on the first day, and then we'll start with cloud computer foundations on day 2 and day 3. And then the following week, we'd run our final series, which is called Becoming a Cloud Practitioner. Now, traditionally, that's a 1-day course called Cloud Essentials, which is run by one of our training partners. So if you think of like Bytes or Mercer as an example, and that's followed then by a full 3.5-hour lab class, and we also run an exam readiness class as learners are preparing to take their cloud practitioner exam. The purpose behind our curriculum is really to help a young adult kickstart a career in cloud, and so it provides them with the full fundamentals they need before they can think about moving on to, you know, a different certification level like solution architect or DevOps. And we want them to get a feeling of whether this is something they'd want to go into first.
Create excitement.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's free. They can do it as many times as they want to. We are one of 3 skill centers for Amazon Web Services. We have one in Seattle and one in Arlington, Virginia. And that also benefits a South African audience because let's say you are in a career you got into after school, don't really love it, thinking of moving into a technology career. So you work Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. You could potentially attend evening classes at one of our US skill centers. The curriculum is exactly the same.
That's incredible. Wow. And obviously, as part of this, you're also helping to create future skills for the industry. So do you have any services where the young people that come here get exposed to corporates for job opportunities?
Absolutely. So we do look for mechanisms to support our graduates from the Skills Center find entry-level job opportunities. And so this year we launched a career day and we invited some of our customers and partners. We had 2 this year, 2024, in case this video is watched in 10 years time from now. But we launched career days where our customers and partners came in to present their early career talent programs. And we invited our audience, our graduates. So let's say as an example, they run a internship program, a learnership program, and maybe a graduate program. The tech HR talent teams would come in and present those to our audience, and those would cover things like intake dates, how to apply, where to apply, what your resume should include, and all kinds of little bits. And so that fast tracks one of our graduates' entry points into an early career talent role. And we'll continue to do that in next year.
It's all the right information. We find often that young people, the CVs aren't, quite right. We get a lot of CVs that come across our desk. So I always also say, listen for advice, look for advice on how to make your CV stand out
Precisely. And that's the reason behind the career fairs as well. And then also we had Jobs Connect, which is a City of Cape Town initiative. And they also have a huge amount of entry-level roles. And what a young person lacks today is not as much as the skill and interest, but it's the opportunity to gain that work experience.
It's opening those doors.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, my background is in HR. I spent about 15 to 20 years working in HR. And so I got to understand what the challenges were that young people were faced with when trying to enter the workforce.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons why, you know, I think doing what I do today, it is helping me enable a young person find an opportunity in the right field, but also to expose them to how technology will be in whatever job they go into in the future.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely. Would you like to show us around a bit?
I will. So Loraine, this is what we call our cloud discovery space, right? And each skills center has a cloud discovery space. We have 16 exhibits. Some are interactive and some are informational. So the interactive ones you play around with and you get to experience and immerse yourself in that specific AWS service. And then the informational ones you listen to and you get to understand what AWS services are involved in those particular. The themes for the cloud discovery space are varied, but as you can see from here in terms of our exhibits, we look at connected devices, which is our first exhibit, the foosball table. Then we go through how AWS works with professional sports bodies. We have a live translation booth, which uses AWS services Transcribe, Translate, and Poly. And then we have an entire section around sustainability. So we've specifically set up a data center tour. You know, without a data center, there is no cloud. And this exhibit is showing how physical data centers are sustainably powered, efficiently run, and then obviously secure for our customers. And for anyone new that's coming to learn about AWS, there are two avenues for them. They either go into employment or they start their own business and they become an AWS customer.
Fantastic.
So the next section is all about sustainability. As I said, we use lots of water in our data centers. And so we're showcasing in this section how we as a business work with water responsibly in our data centers through enhancing energy efficiency, reducing carbon footprint, and of course, enabling those sustainability pillars for our customers. On the back of you is a data sustainability initiative, which is using data exchange. This particular exhibit is how we work with the University of Zanzibar on mangrove farming. So think about, as an example, if you are working in Africa, what is the data you need in order to be successful? Let's say you're a farmer. You need to know, is there water available?
Yes.
What's the weather like? When to plant my crops, when to harvest them. And so this exhibit specifically works with Digital Earth Africa. How do we make weather, air quality, satellite data, and any other data set available so that they can actually accelerate their research and innovation? This year, we have invited high school learners to visit the space with us. We host them for around 2.5 hours, and it's high schools across the Western Cape. And we do two things with them. This is probably the most fun part of my job. We run a 1-hour design thinking workshop with them called Get IT. And so we get them to think about challenges in their community. And it's typically things from poverty, education, used to be flooding and electricity. You remember the days, touch wood, touch wood. We then show them how technology can solve those problems. And so by the end of the hour, they've designed a wireframe for an app that they could develop to solve that problem. So this is getting a young person thinking about technology and their future. The second thing we do with them is we run a very fun scavenger hunt through this space. It's 18 questions, so we get to break them up into groups and they have to play around or listen to the exhibits to find the answer. And the idea behind the scavenger hunt is really we want young people to come into the center, we want to engage them, we want to excite them, and at the end of the day, we want to educate them.
Yes.
Whilst we're physically located in Cape Town, we serve an entire EMEA region.
Oh.
So let's take a walk into the classroom so I can show you a little bit of what the setup is like. Right.
I do want to mention that I think the way you handle the high school students is very relatable. I recently interviewed someone else who does community projects using tech as well. So picking something that is part of their everyday life as the topic makes it extremely easy for them and more relatable, and it solves a problem.
Precisely, and that's what we want to do at the Skills Center. We want to capture a young adult's interest in technology. We know that the World Economic Forum predicts that by 2030, Africa will have the world's youngest working population under the age of 25. We also know that 30% of the jobs we know today will no longer exist because of technology, so either robots or AI. And the humans working, I don't know if you and I are going to be around, but they need to understand and embrace technology. And so we are able to give them insights into how AWS as a business operates, why do we exist, what do our customers need, and then more importantly, this cloud skills gap that keeps growing.
Yes.
So we have 2 classes at the Skills Center. They host about 25 learners in person. We also have laptops available if the learner doesn't have a device, and we do offer free Wi-Fi as well.
Okay.
These are learners that live in Cape Town and that have the luxury of being in an in-person class. Tsepo is their technical trainer, and today they are doing exam readiness. Although we're physically located in Cape Town, we serve an entire EMEA region.
Yes.
So the camera at the back is always faced on the podium with the instructor. The camera on the front is faced in the classroom. And what we're giving learners is a live instructor-led experience.
I think it's fabulous what you're doing here, but I want to focus a little bit on you. We have obviously 2 audiences as CompTIA. We have our training partners, actually 3, our corporate customers, and then we have a very large number of individuals, young people that are studying, maybe working somewhere, maybe not, and they're always interested in the stories of the people that I interview as to how did you get into your career, how did you start off, and how did you get here?
Oh, that's a great question. Maybe let's take a seat.
Sure.
We'll get into it. I matriculated a very long time ago, but it was at the time Nelson Mandela was being released from jail.
Wow.
And so I wanted to be part of that South Africa that made a difference. And so I went to study politics at UCT. Okay. And then I ended up in a career in HR, and I spent a good number of years working in human resources. Loraine, I started at the bottom as a PA to the HR manager. And I think my last HR job is some fancy title, Vice President of HR. But in those years, as I said earlier, I got to really understand the challenges young people faced and what the gaps were. Also being a mom and a daughter in high school at the time, what were the gaps in the education system? So, the areas that didn't prepare our young people for the world of work.
Yes.
I mean, I did a couple of things during the span of working in HR. I actually brought a not-for-profit to Cape Town called Dress for Success. It's an affiliate of an international NPO. And it really collects clothing from women like you and I. We often have too much in our cupboards. It's too big, it's too small. We're never going to fit into it. It's the wrong color. We bought it on sale. And so collecting that attire and giving it to a young woman so that she can make the right first impression when she goes for a job interview. And I ran that NPO while working, not working, for about 4 years before I handed it over to my board, and it was really successful. We did some really great work working with Sarki Batman, a home for gender-based violence. And we ran, aside from the collecting of clothing and the distributing of it, we also ran resume workshops, helping women, write resumes that are relevant for the job they're applying for, or they preparing them for the interviews. I mean, we did really simple things like inviting a photographer to come and take a headshot of them so that they could add it to their CV. How to actually articulate the work that you've done, so the roles, the responsibilities, and the data,
Yeah.
and showcasing that on your resume. And then after working in HR, I started getting involved in the startup sector. As you know, 1 in 5 Africans are either an entrepreneur or have a side hustle. And then at the same time, I worked in higher education. Now, when I worked in HR, the thing I loved about HR was compliance. So legislative frameworks, setting up policies and procedures for new customers and new partners. And so I found that niche. And I was a part of bringing a lot of international call centers or BPOs to South Africa. So Vodafone being the biggest one, set up. It was like a 2-week project to recruit more than 200 agents. It was a really fun time in my life.
Wow. That's incredible.
And then Serco, Shop Direct, some of the brands. I worked for Teleperformance at the time. And then EXL, also had the pleasure of supporting them in their startup phase. And it's great to still be connected as Amazon to that BPO sector. And then fast track to today, I started at AWS in 2020 in a team called Digital Skills Enablement. I want to say that it's extremely hard to get into Amazon as a business, but a job came across my LinkedIn profile and I looked at it and I thought, this job is combining my HR, my non-for-profit and my passion for supporting young people, and I want this job. I applied, actually got an immediate response, but I want to tell you that I spent about 2 weeks preparing for the interview and for the loop. I literally watched YouTube videos on how to pass an interview at Amazon.
This is great information for young people because it's not just about showing up at the interview, right?
Yes, it was preparing. It was. I had set my sights on it. The interview process took a lot longer than expected, but I was completely thrilled to have received an offer. My job was to set up training programs across Sub-Saharan Africa, working with large international donor agencies. So like the World Bank or USAID or GIZ, I did lots of work with them through Africa.
Okay.
And I did that for about a year, and then I quickly moved into a management role and I led Middle East and Africa.
Okay.
And then I took this role last year, August, and I think it was a really natural fit. First skills center to be open.
And you were here right from the start, setting it all up. You're
Exactly.
the perfect person for this.
I started 2 weeks before we opened. I want to say that I never realized the immense opportunities that we would carve out for a young
the
adult.
Impact
And
that
the
you're
impact.
making.
Yeah. It's not really just about being a cloud practitioner. It's about helping a young person navigate a career that will pay them better
Yes.
than an ordinary job.
Yes.
And then showing them what the opportunities are. So I've run a couple of really successful projects at the skills centers with our customers and partners. I think maybe to highlight one, we started the first week after we opened was with a non-for-profit called Women in Tech and one of our customers, ABSA. ABSA has always been driven from a female gender perspective in terms of diversity. And so we ran a program over 3 months for 50 female graduates or soon to be graduates from the University of Cape Town. That was the initial intention. And so they had 2 months to complete all their training while also studying at UCT. So they completed our entire curriculum. And then ABSA and AWS paid for their certification exams with Pearson VUE. They graduated in December of 2023. We lost a couple along the way, but it was good attrition, so they had found other employment.
Yes.
And we saw the success of that program, and this year we actually doubled the number from 50 and only Cape Town to 3 countries in Africa, Zambia, Kenya, South Africa, 100 ladies. And then we took 30 from the first program in 2023 and we put them on a solution architect track.
Fantastic.
It's been one of the highlights of my time at the Skills Center. And then recently we worked with one of our partners and the education authorities in Gauteng and in the Western Cape, where we train teacher assistants that come from the Presidential Youth Initiative. The teacher assistant program is for a matriculant coming out of school to get work experience. So teachers don't need teachers' assistants, but these jobs were created for young people to gain 12 months working experience. So working with the Western Cape Education Department and the Gauteng Education Department, we took 50 learners from each province and we took them through our curriculum. And then our partner paid for their certification exam. And next year we plan to scale that program across Africa. So we don't only get to day-to-day train week and week, but we also get to work with our customers and partners upskill their own employees. I would say reskill is probably the better word, you know, if they're moving from technology stacks. And I'm really ecstatic to see more and more of our customers and partners coming to the Skills Center, you know, run field trips, get them through the cloud discovery space, expose them to the different technologies, and then very often take them into the classroom, you know, give them an introduction to AWS Cloud, why do we exist, and like I do with a high school learner, introduce them to technology concepts. We're seeing our customers upskill many of their employees that ordinarily would not work in technology.
Absolutely.
It's definitely the future.
Absolutely. And what you're doing is exactly what I believe in. It's giving opportunities to people who don't have opportunities. It's also for companies to look at the skills that they have and upskill, put them into different departments. Instead of, you know, getting big skills in, use what you have and make space for young people to come into the industry. I'm very passionate about that.
I wish more companies would do that. You're absolutely correct.
I'm preaching it out there. And are you doing it? So there we go. I think what you do here is so diverse. It will be such great information for our audience, not only for the young people who are looking for a career, young women to see another woman that's successful in business and how you did it and the advice you give. But I'm also hoping to bring our partners closer to you to take advantage of what you offer here. We have a lot of partners here in the Western Cape.
Fantastic.
So I'm really going to invite them. We will link everything that's applicable down the video when we post it. And I want to thank you so much for making time for us today. You are so busy, I know. So thank you so much.
No, this is important, Loraine. I think the more we get the message out, people can't believe it's free.
That's the big thing. Yes. What a fabulous, fabulous thing that you're doing. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think you're making an impact.
Thank you so much.
We want to do. We want to change lives every day.
Excited to work with you next year.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that concludes our chat with Tiara at the AWS Skills Center down here in Cape Town. We're really excited to showcase what they're doing here, the amazing work, the impact they're having on people and their lives, and also helping organizations. So I hope that you also find this very helpful, and we will have some links down below to point you in the right direction to connect with Tiara and her team.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiara.
I appreciate it.